In this problem, it asks us to construct a confidence interval for the population mean mu. So whenever I have to find a confidence interval, first I'm going to say, is it for a mean or a proportion? And it says specifically a mean. I know that's going to be a mean. And once I know that we're looking for a confidence interval for a mean, my next question is going to be, is sigma known or unknown? So do we know the population standard deviation? And I look at the information that's given in the problem. We have sample information here. We've got n is 10, x bar is 8.1. The sample standard deviation is 4.8. But we want to know, is the population standard deviation known? So we know the sample standard deviation. So far, I'm not seeing the population standard deviation, and it's actually not given. So we don't know sigma. So we say sigma is unknown. Generally speaking, when they give you the sample standard deviation, that's a pretty good hint that sigma is not going to be given. And here it's very easy to look through the information and find that out quickly. So now I can determine what type of confidence interval to compute. So we're going to compute a confidence interval using the student t distribution. So we're going to choose t interval. And how we get there is by pressing stat and then going over to tests. You can just use the left or right arrows to get you to the test menu from stat. And it should be, I think, number 8 on the list, in your list of intervals and tests. Make sure you choose t-interval and not t-test. So tests will come up in the next unit. Now I'm ready to actually enter my information into the calculator. And our first choice that we have to make is, are we working with data or are we working with stats? If we're working with data, we'd have a whole list of data. We'd have the actual raw data to work with. They didn't give us that, so we're using stats. And the stats that we have are x bar, which is 8.1, S, the sample standard deviation, which is 4.8, N is the sample size, and that's 10, which is a little bit of a red flag. Usually the sample size should be greater than 30. So I have to go back to the problem and check and make sure that the population has a normal distribution, which it does. And that allows us to have that smaller sample size. Finally, the C level is 95, or you can type in 0.95. Either one will work. So the calculator reads them both as 95%. And once we enter that,